A while ago, I got a fabulous compliment from Cliff Dunning of Earth Ancients, essentially comparing me to Edgar Cayce. So we'll start by playing that.
If you've wanted to get an Edgar Cayce level of clarity about Atlantis, I think some of the material presented by Lizziekaren might help. Might help. It might trigger more information that you've been wanting to know about. It might open new avenues.
So let's have a look at some of the similarities and the things that he dreamed about versus the things that I dreamed about. And just let's have a look and see if there is any common ground. He was an American clairvoyant, and I'm just a Kiwi accountant with weird dreams of a past life. It is said that he channeled his higher self while sleeping, and his higher self had access to the Akashic records. The plaque that is in his honor, side where he lived for many years, refers to him as the sleeping prophet. The things that we do have in common are Atlantis. Even though I never heard it called Atlantis, to me it was Tantal, but I have assumed that the place in my dreams was Atlantis. And we also have reincarnation and past lives in common, as well as dreams, and of course ancient Egypt. Back to Edgar Cayce. Cayce believed that his higher mind explored the Akashic records, and the information came out in his dreams. Hence, he could access information about other people in ways that were very, very useful to them. But clearly, that doesn't apply to me. All I can access is my memories of a past life, which I think is great. I'm not complaining about that. But, maybe that past life is through the Akashic records. I don't actually know. And if it was, that would mean that I just had a restricted membership. He could see auras. I have on occasion seen auras, but I tend to write it off as being my imagination. It seems that Cayce must have had a few internal conflicts in his earlier life, since his dreams often conflicted with his religion. I too have doubted myself in terms of my dreams, and I doubted myself for most of my life until I actually went to Egypt, and there I actually saw the proof that it's not in my imagination. I saw things that I could relate to in a different way to other people, and I found things that I shouldn't have known about, and that sort of thing. So I had my proof, and it was really important for me personally to get that proof, because I had a lot of doubts about myself. Could it all have been my imagination? Could these dreams just have been in my mind? But now I don't think that at all. In fact, I think quite the opposite. I think there is something really important about my dreams. I like life to be logical, and I like things to be explainable, which in the case of my dreams and those of Edgar Cayce, they're not so easily explained. There are differences with what Edgar Cayce says and what I have experienced in my dream regressions. For example, the 5 races that he said were all created at the same time in different parts of the world. This is completely different to what I have experienced in my dream regressions. But there also seems to be quite a lot of very, very interesting similarities. So in terms of things that he said about the law of one and the children of Belial, I have very similar concepts. Some of the terminology is very different, but the concepts are identical. So the law of one could easily be a description of Uran and his laws, because he was often referred to in a very similar sort of way in my dream regressions. And in terms of the children of Belial, well, the leader that was really not as good as Uran, but not as bad as Japay, was called Belar. So there's a parallel there. But honestly, the things that Edgar Cayce says about the children of Belial really would apply to Japay and his cronies, because the parallel there is massive. And in fact, Belial of Kron was seriously a very nice human being, and he eventually reconciled with his father Uran, and so massive parallels, but a few deviations from the exact story, but there are a lot of similarities there. I think we've got a lot in common here. Okay, there are some differences, but I think they're mostly minor or can be explained. I didn't see any giants in any of my dream regressions, but there were some very tall basketball player-sized individuals who lived in Atlantis. Technology that we had was vibrational technology, but I can understand how it could be interpreted as crystal-based because the properties of various stones and crystals were quite important in the technology that we had there. Maybe some of the information received by Cayce from a psychic perspective may not have been as easily interpreted or may not have been interpreted away as directly as I can interpret my dreams, because I was literally there. So I see it. I saw it from a very different perspective. I saw it from the first person, whereas he's looking at it from a very big perspective through the Akashic records. And so it's possible that that accounts for a lot of the differences. But I am relieved to think that there is such a very large overlap between what he said about Atlantis and my dream regressions. And so even though it's far from a perfect match, I'm hoping that maybe some of the things that I have to tell people will in some way help us from making the same mistakes that were made in the past. Thank you for listening all the way through to the end, and if you've enjoyed it, please make sure you have subscribed, won't you? Because there's lots more to come. And yeah, thank you so much.